Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sounds real dramatic, like something's coming. Got that real intro type vibe to it. Yeah, enough of the smooth. It's bad boy, baby.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
They go by the name of Q, Mike, Slim, Deron. And this is part 3. You know, like the third album. Like the third time we've been here. Like part 3. You know, yeah, they represent the ATF. Come on.
Just a little 12 is all you need. Just a little 12 is all you need. Just a little 12 is all you need. Oh, baby. Just a little 12 is all you need.
What's up, everybody? Episode 3. Hope y'all excited as I am. It's crazy because the first 2 episodes that I put out, and you know when you like go present yourself to someone or like people or I don't know, a manager, just someone of authority. You know when you go to present to yourself like an audience, you want to present like a perfect product. You want to everything. You just overthink everything. You want to be on your P's and Q's. You want to hit everything just on the nail. Just hit it. Like everything has to be perfect. And that's been me, but over this process, I've just like learned to kind of like have more and more fun. Like the last episode, I was looking back and I was like, damn. I was like, man, you said a lot. Like That's not, like if you go back to episode 2, you go and count how many times I said Like man, you would think I was tweaking. But anyways, episode 3 here. I feel a lot more loose. I feel like over the past couple weeks, I've been able to kind of show I don't want to say like my personality, like I've kind of opened up a little bit more. I feel like now the audience is kind of seeing like who I am as a person, kind of, not just where I stand on certain things, but just who I am, just who Nass is.
Go crazy. Go crazy. Yes, sir. Go crazy. Ooh, go crazy. Drop that shit like that. Yeah. Drop that shit like that. Yeah. Ooh.
NBA trade deadline. Crazy. I'm not gonna bore y'all with a bunch of stuff and data and rumors and narratives. But I do want to dive into my most intriguing, trades that went down the NBA trade deadline. So I'm just gonna jump into that real quickly. The CJ McCollum landing in New Orleans. As you know, New Orleans Pelicans, we haven't seen Zion all year. Some things, rumor, like the word on the street is no one knows what he's doing. We haven't seen him. So I'm just under the assumption he's just in the lab, just, getting his body right, rehabbing, do whatever he has to do to get back on the court. But we'll never know what the Pelicans are going to be, 100% until he comes back. But CJ McCollum, I think, is a great landing for the New Orleans Pelicans, because right now they're in win now mode. Brandon Ingram was an all-star back in, I believe, 2018. I'm not saying he's taken a step forward, but he's been consistent. We know the star talent he is in this league. Sports is situational. Sports is situational, period. So you're only going to be as good as your weakest link. So the Pelicans, they got a lot of young pieces, obviously not doing a lot of winning. But like I said, they do have some young, assets, some young players, obviously led by Ingram and Zion. They haven't really recovered since the Drew Holiday move last year, but it's kind of hard to just overcome someone of Drew Holiday's caliber. So back to McCollum. CJ, he's been to the playoffs. He's been a part of one of the best backcourts of, I would say, this generation. Dame and CJ are just two of the most skilled guards in NBA history, honestly, playing on and off ball, can score from all three levels, expanded range. And when they get cooking, it's over. Like CJ had like a 50-point in 29-minute game like a couple years ago.
That ties his career high right there, Dale.
43 in the game from McCullough. That's good. Well, it's hard to tell how they're performing.
Well, and got to get up and be a little bit more aggressive. Letting this kid just do whatever he wants to.
Here he is again.
Yeah.
Good again.
Yeah, it's McCollum's playground. They've allowed him to just do whatever he wanted to tonight, and they played soft defense on him, and he's got himself going again.
98-71. Robin short rebound.
He's getting ready to go for 50. You look at a guy like Damian Lillard, he recognized that he has it going. He relinquished the ball.
He's very well capable of like going crazy and putting up big numbers. And the thing with him is he's very efficient. Very efficient. He has a perfect balance of just like textbook and flair and swag and like skill. Like his bag is so deep. Like CJ McCollum, like crossover mixes are very like he's done some shit that like you don't really see often. That's the type of player that he is at the two-guard position. My only thing with this move is, as great as CJ is, and I know he's made the playoffs, he's like he had that big Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets a couple years ago against Jokic. CJ is a great guard. But the thing is now that CJ gets his shots, Ingram gets his shots, and Zion gets their shots. Zion gets his shots eventually when Zion gets back. My question is now, who's going to be the person to, I don't want to necessarily say take a step back, because when it comes to giving up your volume of shots, that doesn't necessarily mean you're taking a step back, but it also just, it means it's, in a way, it's kind of like a sacrifice thing, a sacrifice of pride. They're all three of them are all-star caliber players. I know CJ McCollum, has CJ even made an all-star game? That's crazy. I don't even think CJ McCollum's ever made an all-star team, but he's an all-star caliber player. Like that's where you like to kind of separate all-star player, all-star caliber. He's an all-star caliber player. Like, for example, and I've been saying his name's been in my mouth all the time, and I hate to just use his name because that's like it sounds like I'm taking away from him. But some of Andrew Wiggins' level, and I know that's back to what I was saying about basketball situational. Andrew Wiggins is in a great situation. So the talent that he has, he can just play his role and be a superstar in his role, if you understand what I'm saying. But CJ McCollum, Portland's not a great situation right now, but he's been an all-star caliber player for years. He's someone that's in the same tier as Wiggins, but because of, the circumstances and where the Blazers are, and he's been hurt, he wasn't able to, but early on in the year, was it this year? Is it this year or last year? It might have been this year before he got hurt. He was going crazy. He was really playing at a high level. And I was like, okay, it might be all-star. It might have been last year, actually, he did that. He's been dinged up recently. But back to what I was saying about the Pelicans, I don't know who's necessarily going to take that step back and be like, all right, you eat and you eat. Because over the course of NBA history, all the big threes, you can look at all of them, one guy takes a step back. That's just how it is. One guy takes a step back. Chris Bosh did it for LeBron and Wade, on the Boston Celtics. It didn't seem like one person took a step back. They kind of all, like, Ray sacrificed shots, and he sacrificed having the ball in his hands, because Ray was a guy that could have the ball in his hands. Like, early on his early Ray Allen, people don't even like to give him his credit, but he had the ball in his hands a lot. He wasn't just an off-ball guy. He wasn't just a Matt Bonner or a Klay Thompson. I mean, I shouldn't even say that about Klay Thompson. He can have the ball in his hands, but you know what I mean. A spot-up shooter. He wasn't just a spot-up shooter. He was basically like he was a scorer with just elite shooting, but he was a scorer. Like Ray Allen was a scorer, but he sacrificed shots. Paul Pierce sacrificed shots. KG sacrificed. Like they all sacrificed. But typically in big threes, someone sacrifices the most. And in this case, all three of their greatest strengths is scoring. McCollum's peak strength is scoring. Brandon Ingram's peak strength is scoring. Zion Williamson's peak strength is scoring. That is what the three of them know how to do. And honestly, when you look back at it, it's just going to be like, How are we gonna make it work? And they'll make it work. I know people might watch this and be like, oh, but what about Harden, Kyrie, and KD? Well, that is a little different because those are three of the greatest scorers ever. Like just three of them, three of the greatest skilled scorers ever. And they can all create off the dribble. Like they're basically like triplets when it comes to like who they are as like scoring gods. Like they can get to the rim, they can shoot the three, they can hit free throws, they can hit middies, they can I think I already said they can attack the rim, they can play off of each other, they can play make for one another. And both of them all three of those guys have been in situations where they were forced to play on ball and off ball. KD was a little bit more off ball in OKC. I mean, he was more on ball in OKC. He played a lot of off ball in, Golden State. Obviously, he adjusts that system. He's someone that can adapt to anything. We've already seen he can adapt to any system. James Harden has played with numerous superstar guards, Chris Paul and Russ, and he's maintained like okay they weren't winning titles, but it wasn't like he wasn't productive. He was still one of the best 6-7 players in the league. He was at least like in that tier during that period of time. And then Kyrie Irving played next to LeBron James and outplayed Steph Curry in back-to-back finals. He's a point guard that's on that level too, and so when it comes to scoring and playmaking and doing all that, he's one of the most skilled ever. So those three are an exception. But for the Pelicans, someone's going to have to take this step back because who's going to quarterback the offense? CJ can do that. He can make plays for others, but is that... I don't want to say that's not him, but it's not him. That's not what he does. He goes out there and he scores. He's a natural born scorer. He can score from anywhere on the court. But CJ, that's his greatest strength is scoring. So maybe it's Brandon Ingram. And I love Brandon Ingram's game. I actually think that Brandon Ingram has like not just the physical intangibles, but also the skill intangibles to be like one of the greatest. Like I just feel like when you make a wing, if you were to just create an NBA wing, you'd want him to be maybe 6'8" to 6'10", be able to dribble the ball, shoot the three, post up, shoot over opposing defenders, get to the rack, be explosive. And the playmaking, what separates, the real greats from like these other players is that they're able to kill in multiple facets of the game. So once you get into the playmaking and defending, that's why, for example, I'm so high on Kawhi Leonard, because the amount of energy that you need to exert to be the best defensive player on the court and the best offensive player on the court is so hard. It's like that's so hard. That's why guys like MJ, LeBron, Kobe, Chris Paul, KG, Tim Duncan, Larry Bird, there's definitely more guys, but like guys that were able to dominate on both sides of the court is something that it's kind of I don't want to say a lost art, because there's still guys out there that can defend at a high level on two ways. Guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Paul George has been a guy that's been a high level two-way guy. And there are other guys too. I know them. Drew Holiday, I can't forget him. But back to what I was saying, and I was talking about if I was to create a wing. Bottom line, if I was to create a wing, you'd want a guy like Brandon Ingram. Obviously, if he's able to become this great defender and great playmaker, like, so be it. I mean, he's already great. I think he's already, like, so talented. But I think that he can be a great, like, he can really, really be a great. He can be on, like, the level Jason Tatum's at, he can be on that level. He can be on that level. This level Devin Booker's on, he can be on that level. That's how talented Brandon Ingram is. But, basketball's very situational. But who knows, this CJ thing, maybe this is it. Maybe this is kind of how they go forward with the whole Ingram and Zion pairing. Because honestly, the Lonzo separation, that kind of hurt me. That honestly really kind of hurt me, because I loved what they were doing. I thought Lonzo, that's another great two-way guy. Lonzo, he has like Jason Kidd, like he has a Jason Kidd type. I honestly thought that the Norman Powell and the Robert Covington move would be kind of more so of a big deal because the Clippers didn't have any more wing depth further than PG, Kawhi Leonard. Terrence Mann was a rookie last year. He's a great player. I think he has a bright future in the league, whether it's with the Clippers or not. But aside from, him obviously, and then Kawhi and PG, bringing guys like Norman Powell and Robert Covington, guys that can, Norman Powell's a guy that can create offense for himself. So you add him along with Reggie Jackson. Now you got 4 guys that can kind of initiate offense for themselves, other players, obviously. Robert Covington's a guy he's just a 3-and-D guy. He's a little older now, but he's a guy, he knows where to be, he understands rotations, he understands, he's a spot-up shooter, and he's a big. You can get flexible with a guy like him in your lineups. You can probably go something like Reggie, like for example, a crunch time lineup, you could go like Reggie, PG, Kawhi, Terrence Mann, and Robert Covington for like 3-4 minutes. Maybe not crunch time, but it's a lineup that Ty Lue could see, like if they were going against the Warriors, for example, in a 7-game series, like not this year obviously, but next year with PG and Kawhi healthy, and they kind of keep the roster together. That's a lineup that I could see them using to offset, the Warriors, like well-known. What's it called? It's like their kill lineup. I usually forget the name, but the lineup with Draymond that they've basically made famous for years and years and years. But if they wanted to offset them going small, they could throw something like that too. And at the same time, they're not very small. I just named off PG, Kawhi, Robert Covington. Those are guys that can defend, shoot the ball. You got Reggie and Norman initiating offense. So I honestly thought it was going to be a bigger deal, seeing that the Clippers were kind of at a dead end at the end of last year with Kawhi tearing his ACL. PG did what he could do, but we didn't know what they'd bring next year. And it seems like a lot of teams were making moves, and they kind of look like they were in quicksand. So, Steve Ballmer, he's always willing to just widen up his pocket, pay whatever it needs to be paid. He just cares about winning. There's no price on winning for him. So I thought that acquisition was pretty intriguing. So we'll see how they look next year.
What's happening, Uncle G? How you doing this morning?
Myself some orange juice. Good morning, brother. Good morning, Uncle George.
What is y'all so happy about? You walking through here grinning. You're just grinning, like you're a new man or something.
Nah, Rashad's a new man. He got some cutty last night.
Shut up.
You got some booty in this house last night? I told you I don't want no company in my house. I told you that I don't want none of them little fast girls in my house. No females in this house. That's the rule. There's a 1 bowl rule in effect.
Okay, Uncle George. 1 bowl.
What is with you?
I ain't gonna lie. I got some cutty last night.
Stop lying. You ain't got no cutty. But your little scrawny ass. If anybody gets some cutty in this house, it's supposed to be me, okay? I gets the booty around here. I gets the draws. I gets the booty. I gets the trim. I'm the one supposed to be getting cutty in this house because I'm a grown-ass man. I'm supposed to get the cutty, not y'all. You understand what I'm saying? Uncle George, me.
Well, I guess we see who didn't get the credit last night, huh?
Give me my cereal.
The next acquisition that really, really intrigued me was the Caris LeVert trade to Cleveland. First off, Caris LeVert, he's a bucket. He really can score the ball. He's come a long way. I like him in this situation in Cleveland just because in Brooklyn he was kind of not an afterthought, but he's always been like a third wheel. When he was in Brooklyn with I believe D'Lo and Dinwiddie and Jared Allen, like those younger Nets teams before KD and Kyrie obviously came over. Then KD and Kyrie came over. Caris was still kind of third fiddle. Like he was a productive player. Like he's a really talented kid. but it's just like he's a scorer. You know what I mean? He's a scorer, and he just needs the rock. I'm not saying he had to take attempts away from Kyrie or KD. Like, what God-given scorer is going to be able to take shots away from those two? But the fact that him being able to be in Cleveland now, well, I actually didn't even finish the timeline. He was in Brooklyn, then gets traded to... He was involved in the James Harden trade, as you know. And it's crazy to look back on it because the amount of depth that the Nets had pre-James Harden trade was ridiculous. They were throwing out KD, Kyrie, they had Caris, they had Jared Allen, and they had some other pieces. But in terms of just a whole team and like just, you know, this guy's a scorer, this guy's a defender, this guy's a rim protector, this guy does this guy does that, this guy's a hustle guy, this guy's a 3-and-D guy, this guy stretches the floor for us, this is our guy you bring in when we want to go big. Like, they just had a lot of flexibility before the James Harden trade. But at the end of the day, I understood the gamble. KD and Kyrie were thinking, and James Harden for that matter, they're thinking, you know, we can really do something with this team. And they made the acquisition. Caris ends up in Indiana, gets hurt. Only played in X amount of games this year. But Indiana was too clogged up with guards. I mean, it was him. They drafted that kid Duarte this past draft. Malcolm Brogdon's already there. And I think I might be forgetting a guy. But you know what I mean? It was just obviously you had Sabonis, you had Miles Turner. What's this man's name? I'm sorry. I forget. He's hurt. What's his name? He went off in the bubble. He was beefing with Jimmy Butler.
Hey, so all you do is like lift?
Yeah, that's how I do. What do you do?
Well. You said, what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm actually a hitman player.
Okay.
Yeah, I spin shit, man.
Don't tell that nigga this shit.
Nah, I ain't. And I ain't supposed to be telling you that neither. So you keep your mouth shut behind all that bullshit.
Nah, for real. Niggas lose their life behind this shit.
Not playing.
Not playing for real.
Yeah, for real.
Sure.
Yeah.
And speed up.
And speed up a little bit, bro. Nah, nigga, for real.
I was going blank for a second, but the player I was thinking about was TJ Warren. But you catch my drift. Like, there's just a lot of guys that need the ball in their hands. Caris is a guy that needs the ball in his hands, especially. He's a 2-guard. You're paying him money to go get a bucket. I think he fits beautifully with this Cleveland team just because Garland, as great as he is, or as great as he's going to be, I think we've kind of figured out what type of guard he is. He can go get you 40, but that's not the only thing he can do. He can kill you with playmaking, like a Chris Paul, like a Trae Young. He can kill you with his playmaking too. That's a guy who likes to get everyone involved. So I just feel like you bring Caris to Cleveland. Now Cleveland has a guy that will go get a bucket. Like, he will go get a bucket, and you're saying that's it. You got him to go get you a bucket. I think him and Garland now, everyone has their role. You have Jared Allen, you have Kevin Love, you have Okoro. I think Okoro's hurt. You have Mobley, Garland, obviously. Excuse me. You just have guys out there that know what they're supposed to. They know what they're doing. They know what they're supposed to be doing. There's no scared to step on each other's toes. There's no hesitations. There's none of that. He's in Cleveland. He's there to score the ball. I think it's a perfect fit, and he fits the age range too. Like, I just feel like he just checks off every box. Everything just makes sense. Caris being in Cleveland just makes sense. I heard he's from Ohio. Obviously, he went to Michigan. But I just feel like Caris in Cleveland might be... It might take them... The acquisition of Caris LeVert, I think it does make them... I don't want to say Eastern Conference favorites. I think that's kind of jumping the gun because, you know, how young the team is. But I think it definitely puts them in the Eastern Conference Finals mix. I mean, this is a top 4 team. And they got a guy that gave Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum 50. I believe it was like last year.
LeVert around Ojale. Banks it home. Caris LeVert has 42 with 3:38 to go in OT. Nets lead by 2. LeVert off the stutter. The floater is good and a foul. Caris LeVert has it stuck on automatic. He missed that free throw. Now 9 of 14, but he gets his own rebound. LeVert leans. He's not human. Caris LeVert, the banker. 10 to shoot. LeVert, back in. Fade. Oh, he's a one-man wrecking crew.
Just size advantage there. Turn and get it up over the top. everything going for Caris LeVert right now.
He is at 49, and it's 50 for Caris LeVert. The big 5-0.
And his teammates on the bench very, very excited for him, as they should be.
Stan, he has scored all 11 Nets points in overtime.
Caris in Cleveland makes so much sense to me. It was very intriguing. I can't wait to see it, develop and whatnot. Next trade that intrigued me was the Derek White acquisition in Boston. Obviously, I've talked about the Celtics on here. It's crazy because I was talking to my boys and I was telling them, the Celtics have been hot. The Celtics have been hot, like 15 of the last 18, something like that, maybe like 8 or 9 straight. I think 8 straight. They stomped on the Sixers last night. Derek White in Boston, back to what I was saying with my boys. At the trade deadline, I was telling them, like, man, I don't know if we should really touch this team. Like, we're really hot. Like, early on in the year, Marcus Smart was playing kind of iffy. But, I mean, the whole Celtics team was. They got off to a rocky start. Ime Udoka's first year. Jaylen Brown, COVID. He had dinged up his hamstring, so he was in and out of the lineup. And then Tatum got COVID too, but they both had it at 2 separate times. So Boston never got into a consistent start. As you know, Marcus Smart's a great player, but he has his flaws, just like every other player. And I just feel like his flaws are a little bit more, they're a little louder than others, But he was a guy that was rumored to be on the block come trade deadline, like early on in the year. Then, he was a little bit more outspoken. You remember he called out the Jays for not being isocentric, but be willing to share the ball because they already attract so much attention. And that got some good and bad feedback. Some people thought Smart shouldn't be the one to even talk. Some people thought Smart was onto something, but it should have been said a long time ago because, we're here at this point now. But at the same time, he's just being a leader. He's trying to lead with his voice. Not every leader has criticism that's going to be, taken the right way, but that's what leaders are for. So, Marcus Smart, towards the trade deadline, Celtics were reluctant to put him on the table. I don't blame them. He's a great player. If we're going to move someone like that to another team, we better get a great deal back. He just brings so much to the table. So, with Marcus Smart being said, that leaves us, Dennis Schroeder and, Josh Richardson. When I was talking to my boys, I was kind of iffy on even making a move off rip just because the Celtics have been hot. I thought it might mess with the team chemistry, the camaraderie, and as you know, dating back to like when we had Kyrie and IT, the Celtics, their Achilles heel has always been camaraderie and chemistry. The only time the Celtics chemistry and camaraderie has looked like great was probably when we pushed LeBron 7 games in the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals and the playoff bubble series against the Heat. Just because, I don't think anyone really expected us to beat the Heat. But, I don't know. The Heat weren't also this title juggernaut. They were kind of a surprise. No one really expected them. I didn't expect them to do what they did. I didn't expect Jimmy Butler to have, that playoffs he did. But as you see what I'm saying, like that series against LeBron, Brad Stevens, we had Tatum, Jalen, and Terry. That very next year when Kyrie came back in 2018 when we faced the Bucks in the second round, he kind of neglected Jaylen Brown and Terry Rozier. And then we had Marcus Morris and, he was giving Gordon Hayward a lot of burn. He was giving him a lot of time. That's his boy from Butler. He'd come off an injury. I know he's an all-star caliber player, great player, but it kind of messed with the flow. The Boston had a good flow the year prior. And, Terry Rose said it on First Take when it was time for him to go. He was like, I sacrificed the most, so, I'm out of here, basically. He's just saying, I'm going to go get my money and, make my money and get some more shots up, get my stats, and build the player profile that Terry is, build it up more, and he's been doing so in Charlotte. So that's really been Boston's Achilles heel. So that was really why I was afraid of touching this team. I really, unless if we were going to touch the team, it better be a big move. That was under the circumstance I was wrong because I really wanted to keep Jay Rich because I know he's shooting almost 40% on threes. I like him and Smart in the backcourt, defending opposing guards and wings and whatnot. They're very, versatile, flexible. They can switch, especially with Jalen and Tatum behind them. But we got Derek White, and I knew Derek White, he had his history with Ime Udoka back in San Antonio. He's a guy that can not just space the floor, but he can play on-off ball. I mean, he's played with Lonnie Walker, DeJounte Murray, Patty Mills. He's shared the rock before. You know what I mean? Especially with other guards on the team. So him coming to a team that's led by Tatum and Jalen, that's key. Someone that can shoot the three, someone that can play off ball, on ball, initiate offense, create instant offense whenever someone needs a breather. If not, and on top of that, he's a higher. And I love Dennis Schroeder. I think he's and people don't realize Dennis Schroeder is actually he's been in the league for a long time, quite a while. You know what I mean? His sixth man of the year, I think it came I think he got sixth man of the year 2020 when he was playing with Chris Paul and Shai, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that Derek White has a higher two-way ceiling. He's a more valuable two-way player than Dennis Schroeder is right now in his career. Dennis Schroeder's a small guy. He has a very quick step. He's a microwave. He can get cooking at any time. But I just believe that after, and my boys were teasing me about it because I was, opting for Jay Rich, and I was like, hey, don't touch the team. Leave it. Let's keep it hot. If we're going to do something, at least, if it's going to be something, at least make sure it's a big splash, something that's really going to take us to the next level. But the Celtics aren't moving anyone. We're not moving Jaylen Brown, as people were saying earlier this year. You think we're going to split Jaylen Brown from Tatum? Right. So my biggest takeaway from trade deadline, well, not my biggest takeaway, but my favorite splash has to be the Harden-Ben Simmons swapping from, Brooklyn to Philly. I'll go off. And obviously, you guys know I'm probably gonna have a lot to say on this one, but I'll try and keep it clear cut. You know what I'm saying? Just so you really understand what the hell's going on right now. Harden and Philly. Harden came out and he said that Philly was always his first choice. Obviously, as you know, him and Daryl Morey, they're like this. They're tight. I can't really blame him. MVP, GM, and I've never seen a GM-player relationship like this, honestly, ever in all sports, not just basketball. He's in Philly. He's with Embiid, and they swap. Philly gives Brooklyn Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, Ben Simmons. I should start off with Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons, 2 first-round picks, and I think the Philly only got in return Harden and Paul Millsap. That's it. So Brooklyn, their Achilles heel has always been defense. They just got arguably the best defender in the whole league. It's, if you want, you can debate it if you want, but if you don't think it's debatable, then you're just wrong. Because this is a guy that finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting, I think, twice. What Ben can do on that side of the ball is very special. He can literally guard 1 through 5, no cap. He's not the one to play with on that side of the ball. 6'10", long arms. I call him modern day Pippen because he can defend 1 through 5. He's athletic, attacking the rim. He can pass. He's a superior passer than Pippen too. And Pippen was a hell of a playmaker, for those of you that don't know. But I think Pippen in Brooklyn makes so much sense for Brooklyn because now they have so much flexibility. They have Drummond, they have Ben Simmons, they have KD. They can get so flexible with all sorts of lineups. They can throw Ben at the 5, throw a bunch of shooters, go Kyrie, Seth, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, maybe Nick Claxton if they want to stay a little big, or if they want to take out Nick Claxton and put in Kessler Edwards. If they really want to get flexible, they could take Kessler Edwards out and put in if you really want to, I wouldn't do this. If you really want to go small, you can go Patty Mills and just have Durant and Ben be your 2 anchors, interior. They're not anchors. That's not their game, but small ball is just a staple in the NBA. Every team kind of wants to give a different wrinkle besides the starting 5. Their crunch time lineup might be different than obviously the starting lineup. Their best 5 might not be the starting lineup, as you know. It just might not be. So if you go crunch time, you go small, you can throw Ben at the 5. He can play a Draymond role. But what I feel like is what's misconstrued with Ben is that we're in an era right now where you live and die by the three. You know what I mean? And people love this narrative that, oh, he can't shoot, oh, he can't shoot. There's no way that man is home right now working out and he doesn't take jump shots. He's a basketball player. It's not like he changed sports and he doesn't know how to shoot or anything. He's played basketball his whole life. I know people have questioned his work ethic and his mental state and all this stuff and how much he really loves the game and whatnot. But it's like, first off, we don't know the man personally. We don't know what the man's going through. I understand he played at a very, very subpar level, especially for someone of his caliber last year against the Hawks, but that's not his game. When Embiid doesn't have it going, you don't lean on Ben Simmons to score the ball. I mean, you can, but how far is that going to take you? That's not his game. We all know what his game is. He's like a Rondo. He's like a Draymond Green, a guy that quarterback the offense, go defend. A guy that doesn't need to, like Ben Simmons is a guy that can take 6 shots. He could take 6 shots in a game and be the best player on the court because he's impact in all different areas. He's all over the place. Quarterback the offense. He can initiate for himself. The only thing with him is that Embiid is so great, but he clogs up the lane. You know what I mean? He's a center. That's just what a big man does. You know what I mean? It would be the same thing if Ben Simmons played with AD. It would be the same thing if Ben Simmons played with, maybe not Jokic. Jokic might be a little different. Jokic is cut a little different. But you catch what I'm saying. Like just a big, like Ben Simmons is not. He's really like if he's a non-shooter. If he's with a non-shooting big, it's not like he can't be an effective, high-level, like all-star caliber player. But it becomes tricky because we already know by now. That's just. I'm not gonna say it's not his game. I mean, he's still young. He's like 25. We still don't know what type of strides he'll make when it comes to initiating his own offense, generating his own offense, his own shots. But I think for right now, the version of Ben Simmons right now that we have, until he gets to that point, the best way to maximize him is to minimize the non-shooters around him because we already know he's a non-shooter. But the thing is, he's a ball handler, so you just have to kind of find ways to kind of weave your way around it, personnel-wise, putting the right, different types of players around him, and kind of finding that balance. So, and another wrinkle, actually, before I continue with Ben Simmons, I had forgotten to even name Cam Thomas, who's not making the rookie All-Star game. I mean, the rookie sophomore. It's not even rookie sophomore game. Actually, it's the Rising Stars now. But he didn't make the roster, and he's been killing. Like he's been killing the past month. That's another thing with the Nets is that Harden, particularly like making his way out to Philly, that's not really going to be a problem for the Nets because the Nets, their greatest strength is scoring. We already know that, but it's more than just KD and Kyrie. Now they have an instant microwave in Cam, who's been basically taking notes behind 3 of the greatest scorers to ever play, and he's already a natural born scorer. So he's just been sitting back just watching them. Now Harden's gone, so we already know he's going to get a heavy dose of the shots remaining that Harden's leaving on the table. So and he's very capable of doing so. We saw last night with his his step back. It was not even. It was like a sidestep. It was like a hybrid between a sidestep and a step back, going to the left. Maybe like 3-4 feet, 5 feet maybe behind the 3-point line. Top left of the key. Just water, like man. That man's a bucket. Harden leaving is, I don't know. I really don't know. I just feel like the Nets kind of got stronger, potential-wise. I mean, we'll see in the long haul, but those Nets world is still scary. It's still scary just because they uplifted that defense, and now they have a plethora of big men on the bench. They have, I know Blake's he's not necessarily big, and I know he's kind of on his last legs, but he's still a guy you can throw out there. But he's going to be like their 11th man or 10th man or something like that. I mean, they got Drummond. They still have Aldridge. They got Simmons, who's not a big, but he's a front court guy. I mean, he's a point guard, but he's a front court guy. He's a big. So, I mean, you're 6'10", he's a big. So, Nash is going to have, like, so many different options and combination. I'm actually, like, jealous because that sounds so fun to just play with so many different toys, put them all together and figure out a product. Like, he has everything. I mean, he can even a guy like Bruce Brown, that's a fun guy to throw in with certain lineups. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just think the Nets personnel wise, like that was kind of their weakness last year, is that they needed the big three to kind of carry the scoring load or they wouldn't have a shot. And I mean, the games that the big three were playing, I mean, they played 16 games, they went 13-3. So, I mean, it was there. You feel me? The foundation was there. It just, it so happened to be Harden just needed to get his way out. KD was petty about it. I don't blame him. You feel me? I mean, I kind of quit on him. We kind of quit on him. I know he said Philly was his first choice, but you're either a soldier, you're riding for us, or you're not. That's just the motto. So I can't really knock KD for being petty and picking Gobert. I thought it was comical. But that's the Nets side. But going to the Philly side, Philly's still strong. I'll say this: Philly's roster is on paper. It's a very, not even on paper. On paper and on the court is a very strong roster. They just beat the Bucks by 3 points, I think, and Embiid put up 42 and 12. I think he's the MVP as of right now. The season ended right now. He's MVP. He's just been amazing. But anyways, before I get sidetracked, they're gonna be great. It's just gonna be a tough. It's not gonna be the easiest fit because guys like Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, those are guys that need the ball. As great of a playmaker as Harden is, Harden necessarily, and he'll play. He's an amazing playmaker. I think this is the most underrated part of his game. I think James Harden's honestly borderline, in terms of just a talented passer and vision and all that. I think he's literally a top 5 passer. When it comes to just ability, that man is when he doesn't decide to get into scoring or whatnot and the ISOs and the dribbling and the step backs, he is a great passer. I don't know. I can't even. I'm just amazed because people don't really talk about his passing, and people forget that when he came to Brooklyn, he took the keys away from Kyrie, just like that. He didn't even need to say anything. Took the keys, quarterback of the offense. He was like, yeah, I'm a better PG than you, which he is. So, I mean, that's the thing. That's the greatest strength, but that might be their biggest weakness too, is because that's going to take the ball out of guys like Tyrese Maxey and Tobias. The great thing about Seth was that Seth was such a great off-ball threat. James Harden does not play off-ball. He doesn't. He has to have the ball in his hands. It might not be bad. Maybe Tyrese and Tobias, I mean, they'll figure out something. They'll figure out a system. I mean, that's the thing, is that bringing James Harden on is going to just change the whole system. This is no longer an offense that kind of has, Embiid at the top of the key with handoffs to Seth Curry and whatnot. It's going to be a bunch of pick and roll, a bunch of pick and pop, a lot of ISOs. So you just kind of wonder how Tyrese and Tobias are going to how they fit in that picture. Because when people are talking Harden, people are just talking Harden and Embiid, blah, 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 blah. But, there are a lot of quality players on the Sixers. I mean, Tyrese Maxey was playing very, very well with Seth. Maybe, I don't know if it's going to be a situation Jordan Poole found his footing, but when Clay came back to Golden State, Jordan Poole had to kind of find his rhythm again. He went from starting to now he's off the bench. And it doesn't even matter about minutes, because you can play the same amount of minutes, but different types of minutes with maybe different types of lineups. You might not be in the same rhythm with certain players than you are with other players. When you really look in between the lines and just a routine, especially for a team that does not have all their players back, sometimes it gets a little tricky. So you just hope that Tobias and Tyrese will find some sort of. They'll find a way, because they're not spot up shooters either. So you can't even sit there and be like, oh well, they can shoot. They shoot this from 3, but those are shots off of their creation. They're the ones initiating that. It's not like there is a scenario where they're like Ray Allen or Kyle Korver peeling off, pin downs and whatnot and shooting from the perimeter. No, they're scorers. Tyrese Maxey is, I don't even know if he's a 2 guard, honestly. He might be a point guard just playing the 2 because he's he's a promising scorer. But we'll see. I think they're still going to be good. Hopefully they figure it out. I'm still kind of worried about where Harden is physically, just because, and I know the injuries with the hamstring and the hand was, people want to say fake, I mean, it's the NBA trade deadline. What do you expect? Like, everyone's, gets, dinged up around All-Star break, but you're not going to play a guy that you're going to trade. What if he gets hurt? It's going to screw the whole situation up. So, I mean, they have to lie. If you were in their shoes, you would do the same thing for your star player. You're not going to play James Harden if you're about to trade him. What if he, tears his MCL? Then what? You're screwed. But, like I was saying, and at the end of the day, we'll see what happens with Philly. Doc Rivers is not his first go-around with a team that features, a bunch of different personalities, a bunch of different talented players. He's had a heck of a list. So we'll see how that works out. As for Harden and Embiid, I hope the pairing goes great. I really do hope that Harden's arrival doesn't really hinder Embiid's dominance, because it's been beautiful to watch Embiid dominate. And I feel like people were afraid to give him this not this praise, but I feel like we were just kind of we're hesitating to give him that type of respect because of his early season where he was getting hurt and whatnot. But I mean, the past 2-3 years he's been playing at a very, very, very high superstar level on both sides of the court. So like I said about two-way players, I mean, he's one of the greatest two-way players in the game as of right now. So it's been great to see him, kind of climb a level. We kind of knew, everyone knew, from the jump that, Embiid was like a Hakeem level, you know what I mean? And he's been going at Jokic, he's been going at, Davis, Giannis, all those boys. So let's just see what happens. It's the year of the big men this year. I wasn't even ready for it, but all these big men are showing up the guards, showing up the guards.
But don't get sloppy, because it don't get any easier, baby. Next up, we got two rugged competitors.
Three's done. Cut it. It's clipped. Done with. Finished. On to 4. Thanks to everyone that has been in my corner, in my ear, just supporting. Even people that are critiquing, I like it. You feel me? And that's just how we're gonna grow as people with anything. I mean, nothing's ever gonna be perfect. Nothing's ever gonna be clean cut. They say you want to be great at something, you got to put 10,000 hours in. I don't know what hour I'm at right now, this whole writing shit and now this part shit. I don't really know what hour I'm at, but, it's, when you're practicing something and you're putting in work and you start out, the very first step is, the first step is always the growing pain, because you haven't set a routine yet, you're trying to find a rhythm. But once you find that rhythm, you start to climb a couple steps, and then you add your experience, and then, the talent that obviously you have raw talent, but now you put the talent together with the work ethic, with the rhythm and the consistency, and then you're putting how you're thinking mentally, now you're wrapping that all together, And during the process of that 10,000 hours, you start to see. So I feel like once you feel like you hit a benchmark, and once you hit that benchmark, you start to get in a good rhythm with everything. You start to know that you're hitting certain benchmarks on your way to that 10,000. So I just feel like soon I'm gonna hit a benchmark. I'm just in a good groove right now. Going into the All-Star break. All-Star weekend should be fun. I know it's supposed to be Cole Anthony, Toscano Anderson from Golden State, Jalen Green from Houston, and then what's this dude's name from the Knicks? Obi Toppin. I don't really know who I have taking that. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Jalen Green got some bunnies. And Cole Anthony got some bunnies too. And Cole Anthony's a mean dunker. He's not like he can get flashy, but he's he's gonna punch it. You know what I mean? He's gonna punch it, and he's gonna let you know too. Like, he's a mean dunker. He's like a Derrick Rose. Like, Derrick Rose was not just a flashy dunker. Like, when he was going up there, like, it'll look flashy, but he's going up there to punish you in the air and poster you. Feel me? Like, really poster you. Like, he wasn't with the glitz and glamour and all that. When he was going up, he was going to go dunk on you. It might look good, but it's going to look good because he dunked on you. That's why it's going to look good, and he's going to have a little mean mug with it. So, I mean, that's what Cole Anthony gives me. Jalen, I feel like, has a good chance, too, because Jalen's legs are fresh. Not like Cole's aren't. Obviously, they're both young, but Jalen's legs are fresh. They're real fresh, and he has some bunnies. But he showed us a couple. So, we're going to see what happens. 3-point competition. I'm not very sure about all the shooters. I saw a couple people that I recognize, but the 3-point contest is also just it's fun to watch. It's always fun to watch because it's usually an underrated shooter. It's always a solid shooter that may not be like a high percentage shooter, but when they get hot, they get hot. And especially the 3-point contest is like weird because you're just going to a rack, picking it up and shooting. When you go pick up a ball and when you start to go into a shot, you start dribbling and then you just go into it. But staying there and getting a ball and just getting a ball, it's not that easy. It's definitely like it looks easier than it seems. But trust me, I don't got no All-Star game weekend experience unless we're talking like NBA Live 06 on like the PSP. I did All-Star weekend on that and I was killing people. But other than that, I don't got no experience. But I know that shit do look a little hard. That shit definitely look a little hard. But hey, let me stop tiring y'all. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Episode 3 is done. Episode 4 on the way. I don't know what the hell we're going to do. All-Star Weekend is here. I should have went to Atlanta All-Star Weekend last year, but COVID. Oh. Hey. Shout out Tusi. Yeah. Hey, be my friend. Be my. Hey. Be my.
You're my friend, hey. Be my friend, hey. 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 You're my friend, hey. Be my friend.